and definitely putting yourself out in the elements and in the majesty of nature. I just can't tell you how much the beauty of being out, the outback or on the Himalayan trails, or if you're in Antarctica running a marathon down there, that they are life-changing experiences to be out there, away from the comfort of your couch and your day-to-day, but experiencing the earth in all its raw majesty. It will stay with you forever and just keep drawing you back. Yeah.
Welcome to the To Be Human podcast, Heather Hawkins.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
You're very welcome. It's an honour. I would love to start with a quote from your book, Adventurous Spirit. It's for a quote from 2016. I can't help but think about the truth in all of this. Inside, I am the same old me, the shy, curly-haired 10-year-old who froze at the thought of giving school speeches, the 15-year-old teenager who was told she was ugly and uncool by school bullies, the 21-year-old nurse who mapped out an outback adventure, the 30-year-old mother who survived sleep-deprived nights with a colicky baby and a toddler and dreamed of writing children's books, the 40-year-old daughter who cradled her mother as she battled a stroke, the 41-year-old wife with ovarian cancer, the 47-year-old Aussie who went running in her crinkled old gardening shorts. I'm me, the same old me, and inside all these familiar people are still there, still tucked away, but today I have one more to add, one more person that will paint sunshine on my soul. I'm the 50-year-old adventurous spirit who learned that anything is possible. If you keep believing, if you stare down your fears, stand at the start line, and dare yourself to go. So beautiful, Heather.
Oh, that's making me emotional already.
Me too. I would love to talk to you about a defining time in your life when you were 40 to 41.
Yeah.
When you went from being a daughter that was looking after her unwell mother to then being a wife and a mother and having to look after yourself.
Yes, it certainly was one of those times in life. I think life had been very gentle and kind to us up until the points where we had those really big experiences. And for me, I had been really well and started to notice a few signs and symptoms and changes. And I come from a nursing background, and I guess that alerted me to the fact that something wasn't quite right. And at that point in time, I guess, Mum had had her stroke, and then I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer just so shortly afterwards. It was a lot to cope with in life. But at those difficult times, as what I love to say, those lowest points in our lives can be real turning points, and that we can find that courage within to cope. And all of a sudden, I guess it was shifted from looking after everybody else to suddenly realising I had a really big fight in front of me, a battle to regain my health and hopefully, something that I would survive as well. I was so desperate to see my children grow up and live, and I wanted life to continue on. And I had all these things in my heart that I was so wanting to do in life, but being faced with ovarian cancer, it was an incredibly daunting experience.
And being faced with something that is such a turning point in your life, were these questions and reflections new for you, or had you had them also before that point?
I guess I'd faced them with other people going through difficult things, but not personally in regard to my health. I guess I'd faced challenges like from that part in my book that you read with being bullied when I was a teenager, and I really believed that I was ugly, and I was incredibly shy as well. But I think you gradually, as you become older, you learn to adapt and to love yourself and to be comfortable in your own skin and find out who you are in that journey. And then I guess also, finding that I was faced with ovarian cancer, and it was a time to be brave, not to drop the ball, but to face it with strength and to the best of my ability. And I'm so grateful for, the love and support of my friends and family. They made a massive difference. And the great surgery, the surgeon and my oncologist who looked after me were incredible and really saved my life. Yeah.
And on that point in your life, from the beginning, did you believe, like, I can get through this? Or did it sort of take an adjustment period?
Yeah, I think that moment where you do hear the diagnosis. So that Monday morning I'd gone to see my GP. He'd sent me straight off to have a CAT scan, and he received the results that afternoon. So I went back to have the appointment with him. And sitting there in the surgery and suddenly hearing my name in the same sentence as the words ovarian cancer, it's a shock. It is so surreal, and it's like at that very moment in time, your life stands still. And I guess initially you think, well, what does this mean? Does this mean that I'm only going to be here for a couple more years? And you kind of grapple with all those questions that come flooding out. But very quickly after that initial diagnosis, I thought, well, I'm going to fight this. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to stay positive, because that will help me survive. And I think if I can fight this to the best of my ability and really look after my health at this point in time and make wise decisions, then I think I've got a good chance of surviving this. Yeah, so, and that's quite powerful, holding on to that positive mindset to help get you through. And it also just helps the journey become easier, as opposed to really struggling emotionally, but to try and hang on to that positive mindset. And those initial few weeks, I guess, going to have surgery, that was 9 days after diagnosis. I was so fortunate because it was found stage 1. The tumour had not spread. So because everything was done so quickly, that really did save my life. And then going down the pathway where the latest research had revealed a new way of treatment, that because I was stage 1, I didn't necessarily have to have chemotherapy straight away. I could be put on a surveillance program to have regular scans and blood tests and be monitored. And if there were any signs of the cancer returning, then I would go on to chemo. But I was fortunate, 5 years of being part of that program. And now, I'm 14 years down the track now and remain cancer-free. So incredibly grateful to be here and to have my health and have my life, and to be able to pick up where I left off. The same person, but also very changed as well.
And I'm so happy that that's happened for you, Heather.
And it's, it has been quite a journey, I guess, meeting other women with that diagnosis, because the percentage, you only have a 46% chance of survival after 5 years when you're diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And just seeing those statistics play out in the women that I would meet in the waiting rooms, the friends that I would get together with, and that I found quite devastating, because you form these friendships, and these are young women with families, and as time goes on, you see them unfortunately become sicker and sicker and then pass. And it's really given me a lot more purpose to want to make a difference and to help save other women's lives by raising awareness about the signs and symptoms and funds with Ovarian Cancer Australia. So it's really added a whole new level of a purpose to my world in wanting to save these women's lives.
Because to put it into some context, this certainly surprised me. Your tumour was 1.25 kilograms.
It was, and isn't that a shocking stat? It was 18 centimetres in diameter. It was huge, and it had grown dramatically from that CT scan that I had on my day of diagnosis. It was 10 centimetres. By the time I had surgery, it had grown to 18 centimetres and that weight. Yeah, it's called an immature teratoma, and they're very fast-growing tumours. But fortunately, mine was contained. It's incredible to think that was the case. it hadn't spread to the surrounding tissues or into my lymph. So, no, I am incredibly grateful, and I really do feel like I have this second chance at life that I have been granted, and to really make the most of it. It completely shifts your compass, and yes, and certainly awakens within you. For me, it was my adventurous spirit that it woke up again. It had laid dormant for many, many years, and it was almost like the start again. Just thought, okay, let's do some things that perhaps I've been putting off, and now's the time, not to waste time now. Yeah.
So with this second chance, where did you start going? What direction did you start pointing to?
So I thought, I need to get fit. So I really hadn't done any exercise since my teenage years. I played a little bit of hockey at high school. I did a little bit of sprinting in primary school with athletics. I did some aerobics in the 80s in really bad lycra. But apart from that, I didn't exercise at all. I just used to diet to stay skinny. So I thought to myself, look, I really need to get fit. I want to get fit and I want to be well. And this will also mean that if the cancer would return, I would be fitter and able to cope with fighting it. So I became a surf lifesaver at our local beach. And I was way out of my comfort zone with that because I'm not an ocean swimmer, but faced those fears and loved it and grew immensely. And I'm still patrolling down at the beach every year. But I guess going through that experience of being out of my comfort zone in the ocean, I decided to sign up for a 4-kilometre fun run with my 2 kids. And I still remember saying to them at dinner one night, I think this is a great idea. Why don't we run 4 kilometres? And it's raising funds for breast cancer awareness. And I still remember the look on their faces as if to say, but Mum, you don't run. Do you think you'll be able to make it? I go, wow, how long have we got to train? All these hilarious questions. And I thought, we can do this. We can do this. We have 2.5 weeks. We can go to the local park and train. And I didn't have any running gear, so I just found my old gardening shorts and an old T-shirt and an old pair of Dunlop volleys. And that next afternoon, we went to the local park, and there's a perfect circuit at Centennial Park, which is almost 4 kilometres. And so I set my sights on running that, and it was really hard. I got to about 1.5 kilometres, and my legs were like concrete. I was sweating, feeling sick. I saw a water bubbler and thought that was a great excuse to stop. So that really was the snapshot of what my first attempt at training for a run was like. And I guess in life we are faced with that decision of either giving up, thinking, oh, well, it was a good idea, but it's too hard, or we can stick at things and come back and keep working at it and keep training up and getting better at it. And that's what I did. That next afternoon, got back out there and ran a little bit further, and then went off and bought some running shorts and shoes and fronted up to that start line on that Mother's Day race. And little did I know that would be the massive life changer for me. That running along, looking out at the Sydney Harbour sparkling, it was a beautiful morning. I was feeling really good, and I think buoyed by the crowd and the atmosphere. And I had Rebecca and Cal running next to me going, Mum, hey, this is great. You can actually run. Really proud of you. And crossing that finish line, thinking this is not the end. This is not the finish of my foray into running. This is just the beginning. And from here, I want to go further. And it was very, very exciting. Suddenly, the doors had opened, and I had found real purpose, my real calling in life, and my love of running.
I'm really curious of that. When you go out and train, you sort of sit down after 1.5 kilometres, and you're like, this is really hard.
Yeah.
Just your mindset in that moment, because I feel like, it's so common for us to be enthusiastic about trying something new. But as soon as it gets a little bit challenging, we're like, oh, no, that's not for me. And you sort of go on to the next thing. And then all of a sudden, we're on to the next thing and the next thing. And I think it's really beautiful to explore, but I think it's really also important to, in that moment that it gets the most challenging, like really question yourself whether you should just keep going into the unknown.
That's it. Because you think, well, if I try a little bit harder, where is this going to take me? And I think I've always grown up being the type of person that doesn't give up when things do get a little bit hard, that you push through, you persevere. And so for me, and also I just thought that this was a really important thing to stick at. And I also thought that, I guess, getting through cancer, it gives you this additional courage that is kind of buried within. But when you have to face something, you suddenly realize that you can be brave, and that you can be braver than what you think, and that it's okay to be out of your comfort zone. And it's okay to push those boundaries of the comfort zone further and further out. And it's step by step. That's how I find it. It's not taking those giant steps and leaping straight into marathons or straight into something that's really hard, but it's the little baby steps that then, your body then adapts. You feel stronger and happier and more positive. And even if you are getting tighter and finding it harder, you also work out ways of coping. Like for me, I researched about race nutrition, what to have with races, and that helped. So those times where I was getting lightheaded, I thought, okay, I can have my race gels, or I can have a handful of snakes or lollies or something like that. So it's working out those strategies then that can help you push through and not give up. And you know within that it's right. It's kind of that gut feel to keep persevering. And then that sense of achievement when you have reached that goal. I treasure those moments that, throughout, a difficult situation, and you've pushed through and you finally achieve it, and you look back and you go, I can't believe I did that. I'm really proud of myself. And then that builds that foundation for the next time that you push off to do something, that will take you beyond. And you continually grow. That's what I love doing, is continually growing, not remaining the same, or not feel that I'm going backwards, but continually growing and trying something new. And that's what I love to do with every event or every adventure I go on, is to incorporate something new, whether it's new elements, a new place, or whether it's virtually that you're running a little bit further around your local neighbourhood. And the neighbours think you're completely crazy because you've run past their house 44 times. Yes, but it's incorporating all those things that can help you grow as a person. And I find it also flows over into every other part of your life. That it has given me the confidence to be able to talk to groups now, and that I'm no longer that very shy person that I was, and that I enjoy that. And it gives you the confidence to try other things as well. So it just brings so much, that moment where you are faced with that very clear decision of yes or no. But how powerful that step can be to continue on the yes track. Yeah.
And you've obviously grown so much. Do you find yourself in more present moments reflecting back to that part of your life and where you started from? Because I feel like with someone like you, and we'll obviously get to sort of where it expands from there, but people can look at you and not realize that, like, in your 40s, this is when you began running. Your first race was 4 kilometers. Like, this all had to start somewhere.
Yes, it did. And I find that I am far more present than what I've ever been in any other part of my life. And it's interesting. And I don't know whether it comes with age, that when we get past kind of the age or the decade of 40, that perhaps we do become a little more retrospective, reflecting back on our lives. Or whether it's, I guess, when you go through different experiences in your life, it makes you think a lot more deeply. But I'm certainly far more present and far more grateful for where I am and the experiences that we can have in life. And I think, one of those examples is when we were trekking on the Great Himalaya Trail in Nepal, having 5 months away from normal life here in Sydney, out in the elements, camping in tents, with our Nepalese team of guides and Sherpas who help support us. But knowing that every day what we had to do was put on our boots, pull on our backpacks and walk along the trail or climb over a high pass, but surrounded in these magnificent mountains. And it gives you a lot of thinking time and processing time. And never before in life have I had the beauty of that length of time to just be in the moment. And it's powerful. It's incredibly powerful, and it's a gift. And I've now brought that back with me into normal life, where if I'm running at the park, I'm just far more mindful of everything that we have, and the health and the sunshine, thinking about and planning things for the future. And even though there is certainly still some uncertainty about the future and when travel and life will resume back to normal, but still you can make small plans that are achievable, and just really appreciate your loved ones and friends. So it certainly added a lot more depth, and just being really right there, living life right in the moment.
I think that's I can certainly relate to this. I think particularly with very goal-orientated people, you can kind of tend to put more attention and focus on the end result and just getting there. Yes. And sometimes you lose touch with the beauty of the journey and the gratitude of being able to take part in that journey to get to where you're focusing on. Yes. Is that sort of how you approach everything that you do now? I mean, obviously there's probably moments where the focus goes somewhere else, but since doing that Himalayan trail, do you find it a lot easier as a practice and bringing yourself back to that journey?
Yeah, I do. And that's a wonderful point about the journey itself as opposed to the end result, because you think you work so hard and you spend so much time achieving that goal that it's so important to make the most of that time as you're building and growing towards that goal. And like with the track race that we did together, every day to, take away moments of beauty of the outback and just seeing how we coped with the heat and the flies and, the technical sections with the Larapinta Trail, and then, those long sections towards the end running overnight. But it's, at times, like I think back to that final night with the track and how exhausted we all were, but looking up at the beauty of the stars, at that outback sky, and taking yourself away from the pain and discomfort and the absolute exhaustion, but seeing the stars and going, that is awesome. And I am actually loving it here, even though I'm feeling pretty broken and still have so far to go. But the stars right now, for me to be here right now, and to see that magnificent beauty and to have that adventure, it is priceless and it's life-changing. And you wouldn't swap it for the world, even though, there are times where you're struggling along, but you just think it's a magnificent journey, a personal journey, but a beautiful journey that you're sharing with other people as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for context, Heather and I actually, this is where we met. We met at a race called The Track, which is essentially a 10-day self-sufficient race. So you carry about 10 kilos on your back, and it's 520 kilometers. And it was my first ultra marathon. I'd only been training for about 4 months, and for me personally, it was one of the best experiences of my life, because I genuinely pushed myself to a point of, I don't know, I had to stop. I stopped it. I think I got 344 Ks all up.
You're amazing.
But on the context of what we're talking about, something that I learned was I just pushed so hard and I lacked the presence that I initially started that journey with. And it's something that I've taken post that experience into other events that I've done, or in just general training, is just stopping for a moment, even if it's just for a minute, just to look around, to take a breath, to connect with whatever environment I'm in and just really appreciate why I'm doing this. And I think it's also helped with my passion, my continued passion for endurance, because I'm reminding myself that no one's making me do this. This is my choice. It's my privilege to have this choice. And it's going to be a beautiful experience versus, I think, Heather, as you, I'm sure, understand, some people can go into endurance sport and kind of get stuck in this cycle of suffering versus enjoyment and growth.
Yes, that they spend the whole time, I guess, focused on what's going wrong, or their blisters or their pain, or thinking, how far have I got to go still, or it's cold, all those things that definitely impact. But then you quickly switch that around and go, okay, well, how do I solve this problem? How do I address this? How can I make this enjoyable? It is a privilege to be here, that I have my health and we're fit and well enough. We're able to have the chance and the opportunity to compete in these races. And it does. And using that powerful, positive thinking, it gets you through those difficult times and you appreciate it far more. And I find by remaining positive, you can actually run further. It keeps you going. It's an amazing fuel, just as much as if you've still got, I guess, physical fuel in the tank, but that mental fuel that you tell yourself, this is a great, and it's an adventure, and I've been looking forward to this for so long, and all those positive self-talks, and also just sharing it with the other people that are there as well. That's what makes it a fantastic journey, doesn't it? You're not there, you're not just running by yourself, but you make the effort of sharing with the other people, that it becomes a joint journey. And I just love that. And out on those trails, don't you have the best conversations? And they very quickly are very deep conversations that you talk about incredibly personal things. And I love those points of connection. And I find that, those friends that you make on those races are lifetime friends, as we are, and our beautiful friend Lee and Jamie, that, we all share that special bond of that experience we went through. Yeah.
And I would definitely encourage, anyone that feels like maybe they find it hard to connect with people. I would encourage them to do some form of endurance race, because you're right. I feel like, and that's such a big part of why I do endurance sport, is because of the connection with other people and the depth and the authenticity and the rawness. And you cut the bullshit and you go straight to the core of who each other are. And you also have that opportunity to contribute to each other because you're going through a challenging experience.
Yes, and I love, there are moments where perhaps one person, say if you're running next to someone, one person's having a bit of a low point, that you're able to help lift them up, sing a really bad song, or just, talk about some positive experience. They feel better, and then, yes, further down the track, you're starting to fade a little, then they can help lift you up. And it's beautiful. It always seems to work out that way. And then getting to camp at night, because this was a wonderful multi-staged race, we had that opportunity to share the evenings together, didn't we? And chat, and that was lovely. That certainly strengthened the bonds. I would do it again in a heartbeat. I really would.
Is that literally? Because that could be next year, Heather.
I know. I've got another race that I've got my eye on, actually.
Okay. What's this race?
There's one, it's called Sink or Survive, and it's in South Australia. Yeah, I love immediately the name, you go, oh, wow, what's that about? So that's, I think, actually, I'm not quite sure of the distance, but that's over, actually, I think it must be 500, but it's over 7 days. I think it's slightly shorter time frame, but also you're not carrying your own food and all your gear. Yes, yeah. So
that makes a big difference.
That does, doesn't it? Those packs. Oh.
Having 10 kilos on your back while you run is not pretty.
It's not, is it? And it completely changes how kind of your running style.
It does.
Heavy.
It's completely different. And I think coming from someone that attempted that run and did not finish, my ITB ban went, and I just did not have the mental fortitude to run with that. But I did do an ultra marathon after that wasn't self-sufficient, and you just sort of carry a bit of water and nutrition and everything. And I enjoyed it more. It was still really challenging, but it made me question, because I've been asked, will I go back to doing the track because it's an unfinished thing? Yeah. But the one thing that is stopping me is having to carry your things on your back. It's a lot of pressure on the body. And I think certainly something I'm sure you place a lot of importance on is in endurance sport, it's actually really important to think about how you are expending your energy and the pressure on your body. Like, these things are really important. And I think, as I have found, it's more about the mental challenge than the physical challenge in the sense of putting unnecessary pressure on your body. It's a weird fine line.
It is. And with those ones, you have to spend quite a lot of time training and gradually adding the weight into your backpack as you go. And I remember making the rookie error when I was running the Marathon de Sable, that's 250 kilometres in the Sahara Desert over 7 days with your pack. And that was my very first race where you're self-sufficient. And I took myself out on the first day, and I put 10 kilos in my pack that first day, went for a run and strained all the muscles in my back. And I thought, that was really not very smart. I need to gradually add the weight in, so my body can adapt, gradually increase the distance in running. And that's the best way of doing it. And also getting smart in limiting what you put in your pack, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Thinking, what's the lightest food I can take, and I cut the handle off my toothbrush to half a gram or something. All these things that you take into consideration.
I mean, we laugh, but that's exactly what people do, don't they? It makes a difference.
Because I remember reading about people that would cut, in the edging of the packaging on their food. I think, I will not do that. Oh, wait a minute, here I am. That'll save me 3 grams. Oh, it is so funny, but it is all consuming as well, isn't it? What you put in your pack and how it feels. Is it padded enough at the top? What will I leave behind? Yeah, what gear do I need to take? What's the lightest possible sleeping bag I can find? Oh, it's quite a journey that, but I wouldn't swap it for the world. Yeah.
And would you say that the track was your hardest endurance challenge?
It's interesting. It probably was with the overnight section at the end. I was pretty spent by that stage.
Yeah, talk to me about that, because for context, this is in the 520 kilometres over 10 days, but 137 or so of that is on the last night.
Yes.
And I was fortunate to be able to watch many people finish, and the look on their faces was one of joy and terror all at the same time. Talk to me about your headspace on that last night.
I still remember, starting that final stage, and Jamie and I decided to run together, which was fantastic. So running throughout the day, that is great. The sun is up, even though it's hot. It's there's still that beautiful scenery of the outback to look at. And being on Curtin Springs Cattle Station, we had the roadhouse that we could visit, and having worked there all those years ago, catch up with the cattle station owners. So we probably spent a little bit too much time there reminiscing. And then as we were leaving there, the sun was starting to set. And I do remember my spirits starting to kind of sink a little bit, thinking we still have so far to go, and we're running into the night. The temperature was dropping. The legs were so tired at that stage. I remember, several blisters. I kind of, the doctors had looked after us so beautifully, hadn't they? But still, they hurt. And thinking, have I got enough race nutrition to last me to the finish line? Just kind of eking that out. And it got colder and colder, and we were running on the shoulder of the road, that main Lassiter highway, and it just seemed to go on and on and on. But fortunately, Jamie and I figured out if we ran 3Ks and then walked a K and ran 3Ks, and that was brilliant. Having that kind of made the kilometres slip away, and getting to the checkpoints was absolutely beautiful to see familiar faces, have our water topped up, have a little bit of a laugh and a hug, and set us on our way again. But those couple of hours pre-dawn were really hard, and I think at that stage all conversation was gone. We were just, eyes forward, just looking at our little head torch beam, one step in front of the other. We'd really slowed down to a very sad shuffle, power walk kind of combination at that point in time. And then that first, just that glimpse of dawn, of that beautiful red and pink sky, and thinking, day is here, the sun is going to arrive. Today's the day we're going to finish this race. And all of a sudden the momentum picks up, and you've got through that very dark patch, and you pick up the pace, and you see that the light is appearing, and then you turn off that main road onto that dusty red dirt road, knowing that the finish line is only a couple of kilometres away. And it is the most incredible feeling to cross that finish line and then hug people and then just stop. Just stop, and I think it all then just begins to sink in what we've been through, that journey from that 10 days ago and where you are today, and the elation, and it is that incredible sense that, wow, something that would have seemed so impossible just only a handful of years ago is achievable now. And it doesn't matter for me, it doesn't matter where I come in these races, but it's finishing them off and growing in the process and doing them with a purpose. I love fundraising. So for this one, I was running for UCAN, for the Youth with Cancer, for the Sony Foundation. And having their names written on my arm in permanent marker was really profound. Just added that whole extra purpose of why I was doing the race. So just bundling all of that up into this incredible, big, emotional, life-changing experience that I'm so grateful. It's powerful stuff, isn't it? And I'm incredibly passionate about it. And I'm just so glad that I was brave enough to sign up for that 4K run. Because what if I hadn't? I thought about this long and hard. What if I hadn't have gone for that run that day? My whole life that I live now would not exist. I don't know what I would be doing. I'd just be doing normal stuff. Yeah, and not opening up that and tapping into that adventurous spirit and setting it free. That's how I feel. I've been granted this freedom to be able to fly. That's how I feel.
Yeah, it's so powerful to be able to reflect on almost that sliding doors moment, and to really be proud of your past self for making that decision. I find I resonate with that in a similar way of just being like, I'm so grateful that in that moment that I needed courage, that I had courage and I moved through it, and I understand more and more now that anything challenging in my life is something that I can move through and overcome.
Yes, because it gives me the courage when things happen in life, that I don't fall apart or I don't retreat like I used to do as a child, just try and hide and not have to speak to people or get up and do a class talk, but I would rather disappear. But now I'm brave enough to face these things and learn to thrive, to make them positive when things go wrong. Think, okay, well, how can I turn this into a positive, and I will get through this, and how can this make me a stronger person, a better person, a more empathetic person who understands a little bit better about what other people are going through in life. Yes, yeah. And I think it kind of makes us feel more complete, doesn't it? That you're growing and developing these parts, and you're in touch with yourself and in touch in a better way with other people. Yes, yeah.
And in relation to age, because I think this is an important one.
Yeah.
You know, you can hear often from people that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they kind of feel like they've missed the boat with some opportunities. What would your insight be for people that kind of feel like they're at that stage where there's things that they have wanted to do, but they haven't done, and now they kind of feel like it's too late?
Yes, I would always say it's never too late, and never say you're too old to give something a go, to try something new, to make change. You are never too old, and just make that first step. And yeah, like I'm 56 now, and I have no intention of slowing down whatsoever. I still want to be running when I'm 100 and beyond. And look, if I can't run, then I will find something else that will then fill that space. And I'm not going to slow down. I think that's a thing that a lot of people, perhaps when they get into their 50s and are facing the 60s ahead of them, thinking, well, I guess it's time to slow down, ease back. But I say, no, it's time to throw open the doors and keep on living and find new things and be physical and get out there and chase those things that perhaps you've always wanted to do and give them a go. Or try something new that someone suggests and it pops into your head. Like I am so grateful. I have a friend called Bram, and we were standing at the start line at the Melbourne Marathon in 2014, and we were chatting away, and he just made this throwaway line to say, have you heard about the people that run in Antarctica on the ice and up at the North Pole? They run marathons. Did you know that, Heather? And that one line set me off on this whole new course that I thought, I've never thought about doing something like that. I'm going to Google that. And when I finish running the Melbourne Marathon today, I'm going to hop on my laptop and find out about these races, because there's something that sparked inside of me that I think I would love to give that a go. So it's often, perhaps it might be something brand new that someone's talking about that you can take yourself off and give it a go. Yes, but never stop growing.
Absolutely. And I think the importance in that is understanding to have big dreams, to have big goals, but, you don't have to get there overnight. Just take small steps, small courageous steps. But, for example, with you, 4 kilometers was huge to you at one point in your life. And over the years, you grow and you expand. And now you're thinking of running 500 kilometers in 7 days. but that started somewhere, and that started with a lady that ran 1.5 kilometers and had to sit down and reflect on whether this was the right thing for her to do. And I think along what you're sharing is, for any listeners out there that have had something that just seems to stay with you in an underlying sense that just pops up and you keep kind of pushing back down, I would say open up to it and listen to it and just take a small step towards it. And, there's so much to experience if you just start to see that through in a small way.
It is. And at times those first few steps are not easy. Yeah. And I guess we tend to doubt ourselves as well if we think, well, maybe this is not, because it's a little bit challenging, maybe it's not the right thing to do, or I don't want to be uncomfortable, or I don't want to be embarrassed or fear that I'll fail. But let those doubts, just put them behind you and keep taking those steps forward. And there's the real joy when you look back and you think, I was brave enough to continue on that pathway, and look at me now, and look what I can still achieve, that it opens up, new doors. You get to a point and you think, well, I might try a new direction. Yeah, that you're always going forwards and always growing. And for me, I don't look at things as failures, but rather that they're learning experiences. What can I learn from this? Because I remember when I first started doing public speaking, I would be anxious and nervous, and I would be my worst critic. I think I'd come away going, I forgot to mention that point, or I didn't talk about that topic. But then I think, wait a minute, I got up there and I I encouraged people, and and we had fun, and that is the main thing, that perhaps we're not entirely comfortable, but just push through. And I do remember, like with the North Pole Marathon, that there we were up in the ice, running in extreme temperatures. It was freezing cold. A lot of people were finding that so hard.
And this is minus 41 when you say extreme temperatures. Yes.
It was unbelievable that, your breath would just freeze into icicles on the outside of your buff. And as tough as that was, and I'd never run in those conditions, it was the most wonderful, life-changing experience that you find yourself overcoming every challenge that would present itself. You figure out a way through and you celebrate that. And with my phone freezing and losing all my music that I used to love listening to all the time when I rode around, I think, well, how am I going to cope if I still have all those kilometres to run? But you figure out a way, and you think more deeply, or you take in a little bit more about where you're running, or you chat with someone as you run. But it's working out those strategies of enjoying the journey as you grow.
I know that you, with this marathon, as you said, you lost your music. Your phone essentially got too cold that it stopped working. To provide some context, I know the reflections during that period were really important to you. Can you share with us some of those reflections?
Yeah, so with every race, I love to dedicate to people. I kind of feel like I'm not running alone, and it gives me purpose. So there were 12 laps. We'd been told that we were running around the temporary Russian research base on the ice floe at the North Pole. So I thought, okay, I have 12 laps, so I'm going to choose 12 people that I'll think about for every lap. So it was my mum and dad were the first lap. They'd recently both passed away. So that was really emotional. So you can imagine from there the race got more and more emotional for me, but it was such a positive thing that just kept my legs moving, kept me going. And then I was running for friends, and I have a beautiful friend called Eric who is a quadriplegic, and I ran for him. I felt there and then that I was his legs, and I was running the race for him, and running for women with ovarian cancer. And it made it such a profound journey. And I thought, if I can't find comfort in the extreme conditions, the cold and the wind, I was finding comfort and purpose from within. And that just propelled me along. And as the race went on, other people were finding it a very hard race, but I don't know, I just felt that this was an amazing experience, and I cherished it. I cherished the challenge. And it was incredibly life-changing. And to cross that finish line at the end and just celebrating. And I did reflect about all those in that piece that you read at the beginning. I also, were thinking along the lines of those elements of the different people that I've been throughout my life were all there in that one place, carrying me towards that finish line. And just wondering what that little shy girl would have thought if she had have known. She'd be up there running a marathon on the North Pole ice floe. Yeah, I wonder. I kind of wish that I could send her a letter. Yeah.
Well, I know on the Himalayan Trail that you actually reflected on writing a letter to the Heather at 41 that was told she had ovarian cancer. What in that letter would have you included?
Yes, that survival is a possibility, and not to be frightened, and to open yourself up to finding your adventurous spirit again, and that there are opportunities in life that you will experience that from that time when you're in your hospital bed, just wondering how surgery has gone, if the tumour has all been taken out, how long my life will be. To when I'm on that trail those years later, that I am fit and healthy and experiencing it with my two adult kids, and having an adventure and climbing on fixed lines over high passes, having that strength and that ability to be traveling and doing things like that, to bring that Heather in the hospital bed, that reassurance and that hope. Yeah, for me, hope is such a powerful word. And that enables us to keep going when we have hope in our hearts, and hope for the future, that there are things to look forward to. So very much. And I remember at the end of the letter writing in big letters, "You are an adventurous spirit and you have a second chance at life. Just go for it." Yes, yeah. And I would have loved to have read that letter. Yeah, loved. Yeah, yes.
It's so beautiful. And I think I would love to ask you, because you hear often of people coming to face life-threatening situations, and when they've moved through that, they're looking at life in a different way and they're trying new things. What would you say to the Heather before you were diagnosed with ovarian cancer? And let's play out another life where that never happened. What would you say to a listener that's saying, okay, I've never had a life-threatening situation, but I know that there's so much more to my life? What would you encourage them to do?
I would encourage them to, I love writing lists so that they're there and it's in black and white. And I would encourage them to write down their hopes and dreams, what they would love to achieve in life, or what they would like to do on that day. Just even simple things, but really big picture things as well. And write down the type of person they would like to become, things that are dreams within them. And then I would encourage them to work out ways of making that happen. And if people say to them, don't do that, or you can't do that, no, do not let that self-doubt hold you back. Don't let anybody else hold you back. Follow those dreams and fire up that purpose within, and just keep working away step by step and making that happen. Work out strategies of making that dream and that goal happen. And definitely putting yourself out in the elements and in the majesty of nature. I just can't tell you how much the beauty of being out, the outback, or on the Himalayan trails, or if you're in Antarctica running a marathon down there, that they are life-changing experiences to be out there, away from the comfort of your couch and your day-to-day, but experiencing the earth in all its raw majesty. It will stay with you forever and just keep drawing you back. Yeah. And I just feel it kind of completes us, that, we're here on this planet, for our lifetime. And it's almost like something that we should do, isn't it? To go and explore it and spend time, just absorbing and being out there in nature. Yeah. It's
beautiful. So one last question, Heather.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you, Heather, to be human?
It is a privilege to be human, because we are imperfect, but we are also perfect in so many ways. We are raw, and we have connection with each other. And I think if we can make other people's lives better for our life here on earth, then that is a job well done. And if we can grow and be the best person that we can be and feel fulfilled, and make a difference, make a positive difference, then that's what being human means to me. And and just being grateful every day, every single day, for whatever we have or whatever we're doing, and to live in the moment, and be connected with yourself. Yeah.
Thank you for connecting with the beautiful Heather Hawkins and the To Be Human podcast. Please subscribe, review, share with friends and family, and become part of the To Be Human collective.